Welcome, everyone, to Tell Me More, which is an opportunity for the preacher to say a little more about his or her sermon during the week following the presentation of the sermon. So I'm Father Ralph Strohm, and I preached last Sunday, this was the 18th, I guess, of June. We had two fabulous lessons, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the first lesson, which came from the book of Genesis, the 18th chapter, and and then show you a little bit about an icon that is based on the reading. But let me read to you, first of all, from the book of Genesis, which gives the background. The Lord appeared to him, and this is Abraham, by the oaks of Mamre as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men stood in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth and said, "My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree, while I fetch a morsel of bread that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant." So they said, "Do as you have said." And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah, his wife, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes." And Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant, who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them until under the tree while they ate. This is a very famous story, and there's more to it, but I'm limiting myself to the part that will apply to the icon. Here is the famous icon made by Andrei Lebev we think in the year 1144. He was a monk in the Russian Orthodox Church in a monastery very near Moscow, and he created this icon. And we have no commentary from him what's intended here. So what has happened over the centuries is that both theologians and scholars of art have both commented on what they think this may refer to. So what we have here is, first of all, the artist, Rebev, creating an icon, which is an interpretation of the reading I just gave. And then we have art critics and theologians themselves doing reinterpretation, or another interpretation, I should say. So it's interpretation upon interpretation. And I've created or not created, but I just copied on copy paper a black and white photo of the color, because I think we'll be able to see better what I want to point out, except where colors are necessary, and then I'll refer to the actual icon. So I have a little commentary to read to you. The icon is based on a story from the book of Genesis, which I just read. It's referred to as the hospitality of Abraham, even though he's not in it, or by some as the Old Testament Trinity. And the reason for that is that the artist is taking this Old Testament reading and reading into it what he thinks is the Trinity, which of course is Christian doctrine. And as you heard, the biblical patriarch Abraham was sitting at the door of his tent in the heat of the day by the oak of Mamre, and you can see it up here portrayed, and saw 3 men standing in front of him. And if you go into the next chapter of Genesis, you'll note that they are referred to as angels. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth, as I read. And then he ordered a servant boy to prepare a choice calf and set curds, milk, and the calf before them, waiting on them under a tree as they ate. One of the angels told Abraham that Sarah would soon give birth to a son, but that's the second part of the reading, which we're not covering today. Now, the subject of this icon has received various interpretations at different periods in history. But by the 19th and 20th century, closer to us, the consensus among scholars is the following. The three angels who visited Abraham represented the Christian Trinity, one God in three persons. And the interpretation is that the angel on the left is God, the angel in the middle is Jesus, and the angel to the right is the Holy Spirit. Art critics believe that Andrei Rublev's icon was created in accordance with this concept. Now, again, we don't have any commentary from the artist himself, but the interpretation is that he was reading into the Old Testament reading the doctrine of the Trinity. In his effort to uncover the doctrine of the Trinity, he abandoned most of the traditional plot elements which were typically done about paintings. You'll notice Abraham is not in here, nor is Sarah, nor is the servant who slaughtered the calf for the meal. But what we have are the three angels portrayed. Notice that the angels are depicted as talking, not eating, even though there is a vessel here, I would refer to it as a chalice, that's my interpretation, with the calf's head in it. The gestures of the angels, smooth and restrained, as one art critic called it, demonstrate the sublime nature of their conversation. Notice that the hand gestures are not violent or anything, or very rapid. You can just tell it's a sublime portrayal. In this icon, the form that most clearly represents the sharing of equality of the three angels, and therefore the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the doctrine is that if you draw a line around the angels, it'll be a perfect circle. Our eyes can't stop any of the three figures, and we rather dwell inside this limited space. So if you look at one, you're going to look at another, and you're actually going in a circle. And so the Trinity is never ends, in other words. The cup with the calf's head is what may draw your attention initially. And even though this is a circle which is unbroken, you can tell that the cup in the middle and perhaps this background is an invitation to come in and be a part of this. Notice that the calf's head, which is in here, probably, and again it's an interpretation, symbolizes Jesus' sacrifice in the crucifixion. And you know, as we know from Old Testament reading, that animals were sacrificed to God. Also, if you want to look at it this way, the shape of the left angel and the right angel forms a cup itself, or a chalice shape. The left angel symbolizes God the Father. He blesses the cup, yet his hand is painted at a distance, as if he passes the cup to the central angel. Notice his hand is in blessing, but it's pulled up near him, whereas Jesus' hand, blessing the cup, is out over the cup. There's also symbolism behind each of these three. You'll notice there is what looks like a house or a large building behind God the Father, which might represent many mansions in heaven. Could be. You notice the oak tree, oak of Mamre, but notice that it's bent over toward Jesus as a symbol of his crucifixion, and actually you can see a cross there. And then behind is a mountain representing, in Old Testament times, of course, where the Ten Commandments came from, but also the mountain of our own spiritual development, which is brought forth through the power of the Holy Spirit. The wings of the two angels, these two angels, interlap with each other, Father and Son. But the angel, or the wing of the angel of the Holy Spirit, does not actually touch that of Jesus. There's a spear. Each of them has a spear, and the spear separates. So it's a very interesting portrayal of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Now, about colors. And let me take this down and show you, or bring up rather, the actual icon itself. You'll notice that the Jesus figure has blue and brown. Blue is color for divine, brown would be his humanity or the earth. And we know that we, as Christian doctrine, we see Jesus as both human and divine. And the Holy Spirit is a combination of divinity. The blue and the green represents life. So the Holy Spirit gives us life. Notice also, you can read lots of things into this. Notice also that the three figures are sitting, or these two are sitting in chairs, and I would assume the middle figure is also, but they're all on an equal level, meaning one is not more important than the other. So I hope I've stimulated a little interest in you in this wonderful icon based on a Bible reading. And I also invite you on the 25th of June. Christine Hale is giving the presentation between the 9 and 11 services. And she's an iconographer. And her presentation is on Christ in Christian art. So I hope this has stimulated interest for you to go to that too. Thanks so much.